Wicked Witch has meltdown.
Fans speculate about what's down under in a land of Oz.
And is this new friendship between the actors all just an act?
Welcome to the state of it.
The state of it.
So this week we're discussing Wicked, the movie adaptation of the Broadway musical of the best-selling book based on the iconic movie adapted from the beloved children's book series.
Bit of a mouthful.
Just a bit. We also decided to bring along a friend who's a pop culture junkie, who's read the book, seen the film, but hasn't seen the musical, but is very familiar with the lore. Hi, Liam.
Hello, good to be here.
We'll start with the movie poster edit and backlash that seems to have taken over everything about the movie.
Yeah, I'll just get that up on the screen now.
To be honest, I think I'm gonna take a backseat and listen to this part of this discussion because I'm really out of the loop. I don't really know much about it. I haven't even seen it advertised anywhere except for online. So yeah, I'll start with Liam. So you've seen this AI generated picture, I'm guessing. What do you make of it?
Yeah, the entire fuss about it has been very odd to me because every time a new film or TV show or whatever comes along, fans will always edit posters and things like that, and it's just as it is. But what they did was they did the film actors, a very heavily manipulated image. It's got that kind of false look to it that a lot of film posters have at the moment lately, and they tried to do it in the style of the musical one, but it didn't quite have the same impact because it was different. They were in different poses, so fans have come along and done edits to kind of tie it to make it more in line with that classic image, because that image is on billboards in Broadway in London, all sorts. You know what I mean? It's around the world, and it'd be one thing if the actors involved didn't like a thing. People have opinions like that, but Cynthia's response was to act like it was the most offensive thing she'd ever seen, because in the original poster, you just see the brim of the witch's hat and the nose and the mouth, and their version of the picture, their faces are fully exposed because it's Hollywood and egos come into play and all that. If she just said she didn't like it, people would have gone, "Oh well." But she acted like it was the most horrendous thing she'd seen in her life, and it just became a meme in itself. Her response, people would be more willing to take an opinion on board if she hadn't overdone it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the response is just ridiculous for a start. I mean, what was great about the original poster, because it is iconic, you don't have to see the musical, anything like that. You've just seen that poster. It's about as interlinked with the West End Broadway as anything could possibly be. It's a huge musical. But what was interesting about the original poster was it had like a sense of intrigue. So with the Witch of the West, like her eyes weren't exposed, but her mouth was. So it was doing sort of a wry smile, and people couldn't quite work out what was she smiling about, because of course she's supposed to be a villain. And then obviously you've also got Glinda whispering something in her ear with her sort of obstructed completely. You really whispering in her ear, and it's like, well, what's she whispering? And these iconic characters that you've seen from the original Wizard of Oz movie, what is this about? So even if you hadn't read the book or anything like that, like the Wicked book, you just have this like, that's not making any sense. That's a bit strange. So that's what got that kind of interest and intrigue and inspired it. Whereas obviously the movie poster, as you mentioned, it was just a very morose expression. You got the Wicked Witch looking like sullen and just like expressionless. And it's like, okay, well, that's not interesting. And then even having Ariana's just like whispering in here, it's like, there's not anything intriguing about that. It's just the faces of the actors in costume, like a cosplay almost. So of course the edit of the poster to do it, which looks like incredible actually. It looks really good and would have just been great to see that. It's just weird that she's not really, saw that kind of side of things and decided to go on the attack.
Especially as it's one of a series of images. It's not like there's one film poster like in the old days. There are so many pictures, so they don't need to be fully visible on all of them. People know who the stars of the show are.
Totally agree. I mean, her response though is something else. I'll just read it out. This is the wildest, most offensive thing I have ever seen. Equal to that awful AI of us fighting, equal to people posting the question, is your green? The original poster is an illustration. I am a real life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer. Because without words, we communicate with our eyes. Our poster is a homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me. And that is just deeply hurtful.
Wow. It's a bit extra.
Yeah, a bit of an overreaction in my opinion. I've seen the poster just now from what you've put up, and I think it looks better. I certainly don't think it's offensive. As a big fan of the books, the musical, hopefully the film, hopefully it's good when we all go and see it. But what do you think of her reaction as a fan? Are you offended?
I am kind of a little part of me thinks she just needs to take it down a notch, and she doesn't really kind of get it. But another part of me is quite offended by her offense because it's so over the top. Because the is it green question, that's a meme because years ago someone scrawled that on a poster in Broadway and it became a catchphrase. So when the film came out, everyone brought it back again because that's a meme from like 10 years ago or whatever. But fan edits, they're a big part of pop culture. And when you think about what Wicked is, you've got a children's book that was turned into a film, then you've got someone did their own version of a prequel story that got turned into a musical, that got turned into a film starring big stars. And it's like that's a lot of people that have a lot of interest in things. And if you're going to take on a role as iconic as the Wicked Witch of the West, which is basically what it is, you need to recognize that you have to just be gracious about the whole thing, and you're gonna dive into it all, and you just be surrounded by fans that mean well, and that's what I find hard. She doesn't recognize that people mean well. She's taking it as an attack. Even if she doesn't like it, it's fine not to like it, but don't act like you're being attacked.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is why I wonder whether this whole press circuit of her and Ariana being super duper friendly and whatever, because it sort of comes across as a bit false from my perspective. Because it appears actually Ariana Grande was almost sort of echoing a little bit of what you just said there, 'cause she was like low key defending the fans, really, but in quite a clever way. This is what she said. Her response when she was interviewed. So I think it's very complicated because I find AI so conflicting and troublesome sometimes. But I think it's just kind of such a massive adjustment period. This is something that is so much bigger than us, and the fans are going to have fun and make their edits. And then she has to sort of do the qualifier at the end. So I have so much respect for my sister Cynthia, and I love her so much.
That's almost a bit of a compliment sandwich, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's why you give like positive criticism, positive. What do you think? Do you think about the friendship? Do you think it's a bit of a show friendship?
I'm
That's for you.
wondering if, yeah, I'm wondering if they are overdoing it, and but then they could just because they're very I've got like, experience working with people like that. They're very much very stagey, and look at us, darling, and everything is ramped up because look at their responses to slight little things. They act like it's. I will say, actually, come to think of it, that Cynthia's negative response to the posters is being equally matched by her positive responses to. I said people have been resonating with the lyrics of the song and they're acting like, oh my God, I had no idea. And acting like she just discovered a cure for like every form of cancer or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like that type of thing. Everything is over the
Mm.
top. So I will say, at least they are consistently extra. You know, they're not just being in one direction. So I don't know. I do think
Well,
that, but yeah, but I do think it's more to it.
this is the thing. I think Ariana's voice, despite the fact that I'm a bit of a fan, has got even higher. She's got it's like almost like she is doing those sort of high notes, and she's just talking now. I know she's always had that like high pitched sort of breathy kind of voice, but it's certainly been dialed up a lot. just during every sort of press junket she's in, those sorts of things. And I just think they're playing up this sisterhood for all the cameras and for all of as part of the marketing thing. But what do you think? Do you think it's just it's sort of to like weave a message for the film? Because there's actually going to be a part 2, isn't there?
I am wondering actually that they might be doing it like that. I mean, they don't, they could just be deliberately leaning into the themes, which is like we're besties, look at this, and they wanted to be unifying and all this, and I don't know, but I just think it's there's just something off about the whole thing. It's just very strange. It's I don't know. I just find what they need is, and I think like celebrities in general, they need to be interviewed by normal people that are going to be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Because everyone is just like digging them up and lapping it up, and like if they had someone, like taking them back down to earth again, you what? You what? It's a film, love. You know what I mean? Like that would be ideal for me. I would just love to see that because it's like it's okay to get carried away when you're surrounded by yes men. But if someone brings you back down to earth, let's see how they behave then. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I
Mm.
agree with that. It reminds me a bit of, I'll take you back to the Olympics with Rachel Reagan. The
You mean the number one Halloween costume for this year?
yeah, that's one. The quote unquote break dancer. So look, people were taking the mick out of it, obviously, because it was funny. But instead of coming out with some good humor, she was absolutely had the wrong attitude about it. She came out, she gave a statement. She was like, "I've cried so much. I'm a really good dancer. I've got a degree in dance." I mean, it just, I think she was a dance teacher as well, and it just goes to show, those that can do, those that can't teach.
As a teacher, that's the wildest, most offensive thing I've ever heard.
Calm down, Liam. Don't set your winged monkeys on me. But recently, she was on stage with some pop star at a concert, and they brought her out, and she did that kangaroo thing, and the crowd cheered and laughed, and it's like she's finally now started to have some humility and take the mick out of herself. But for me, it's too little, too late because she's already had months of this whinging about it. And to me, that's the same as Cynthia. You need a bit of humility, and you need to realize that that was done in love. Like for somebody to take the time to take that poster to make a change to it, that's not someone who hates the film and hates you. That's someone who wants to see the film. That's someone who has an affiliation with Wicked. And she needs to just, I agree with Liam, she needs to tone it down a bit, have some humility, and just have a laugh. And I feel like stars these days, celebrities, singers, whatever, that's what they're missing. They're missing just some humour about the whole situation. Which I think for her to be British as well and react like this, it's a very British thing to laugh at yourself. And like I say, in this situation, it's not that it's funny, it's just that it was some fan art and she took it the complete wrong way. And in regards to Ariana Grande, if someone had done that, if she was playing the Green Witch and someone had done that to her, I think she probably would have shared it, or even if she hated it, she would have remained silent on it instead of alienating what could be a potential fan base. Because out of the two of them, everybody knows Ariana Grande. Now, Cynthia's a massive Broadway star. I've heard of her before because I've seen her on something, I can't remember what it was, an interview or something like that. But out of the two of them, Ariana Grande is the biggest star. Now, this film is going to catapult Cynthia Erivo, catapult her to massive stardom, and she wants to start out by alienating the fans. I think that's the complete wrong way to go about it. And lastly, on their relationship, they've probably got a lot in common. She's a Broadway star, Ariana Grande is a pop star, they both enjoy musicals, they both enjoy singing. So yeah, there probably is a friendship there. Is it best mates? Probably not, but to be honest, I don't think you need to pretend to be best friends to sell films. People people don't need to see that these days.
I just think the problem today is we don't gunge enough celebrities anymore. Like we used to be when you had a film coming out, you'd have to do the circuit of Saturday morning kids' TV. You'd have to get up at the crack of dawn, and you have 3 hours of kids' TV. And I tell you, Cynthia would not be able to be so full of herself if she had to stick on a headset and help Sarah from Croydon to win a Poochie over the phone. Do you know what I mean? Or a PlayStation. And I said, no, all right, love, that's what we need. And then, and if she's worried about things being green, just stick her in the gunge tank, and then we don't need to worry about that anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's all taken care of. Get Dave Benson Phillips on. That's what we need. And I just think like every celebrity would do it, from Hollywood stars to the latest like British pop group or whatever. Everyone would do it. There was nowhere to hide. And I feel that's what we need to start a campaign like this. This has been my political campaign trail. We need to start gunging celebrities again. Because honestly, what do they do these days? They go on the radio, they go on the red carpet, they go on Graham Norton if they're lucky. There's nothing else. There's nothing else for them to do. They need to humble themselves, take part. Um, Children's TV shows of bad sketches at 7 in the morning, and then just be glad of it. That's what we need. So come on, Cynthia, get you in the gunge tank, get your own back time.
Well, I mean, I'd like to sort of extend on that, really. Yeah, it is this point, like, people are just so disillusioned with celebrity now. I think it's this overexposure since social media. We sort of know everything about them, yet at the same time, they're getting more and more out of touch with reality because everything's sort of obviously taking place on social media. So they don't need to go around to sort of these kinds of programs, which I don't even think there are any about anymore. Everything's just been so watered down. It's all online now. It doesn't really humanize them. And I think the less humanized a person becomes, the more out of touch they become and the more above it all, which is nobody points that out better than Cynthia. And obviously Rachel Zegler, Snow White, different conversation for a different day. What an interesting character she is. But absolutely in the same vein, they just don't seem to have any sense of, as you said, humility. Completely agree with both of you on that point. There's just none of it. And nothing is more humbling than being covered, as you said, in the morning on Gunge, on national television.
Yeah, I just think it'd be the perfect marketing if they did something like that, get them back doing stuff like that. Because that's the thing. When I was growing up, the way that you get to know a lot of these celebrities and like them wouldn't just be from the films or whatever. You'd say, oh, they're fun. They come on TV and they're a laugh. They're joining in with it, and it'd make you like them more, and it'd make you invested in their other films, music, whatever. And we're missing that now.
Yeah, completely agree. And the weird thing is
Yeah.
about this film itself is it's like the huge marketing push that they've had for it. They've even got like juices, like, cordial juices in different colors and flippers, obviously, but the whole normal stuff, and then just very strange things that they've advertised using this brand name, like the next Star Wars or something. So they're really trying to go somewhere with it. So why would you then decide to use that as a vehicle to attack the fans that you're obviously trying to sort of get as much money out of as you can?
Yeah, it seems a bit silly. The reaction seems a bit silly. Ariana Grande has done the fans a favour there by defending them. And speaking of Ariana Grande, it seems we have some exclusive interviews from the red carpet premiere.
Shouldn't it be green carpet?
Or pink carpet.
Good evening, and welcome to Faking News. Tonight, we have a special edition to celebrate the premiere of the new film, Wicked. The film is an adaptation of the Broadway musical and has already caused some controversy. We've sent our special Hollywood reporters, Liza Minnelli and Mike Tyson, to interview celebrities live on the red carpet. Mike, over to you.
Thanks. It's somewhat slippery here as it's sleeting down with rain. There's Ariana Grande. Hey, Ariana, are you excited?
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Why are you talking in that funny voice?
Sorry. I did SNL. I've been stuck as Jennifer Coolidge for 3 weeks. Yeah.
Ah, sorry to hear about that.
Hey, there's Jeff Goldblum. Hey, Jeff, did you know my mother was Judy Garland?
Oh, hey, Eliza. Hey, Eliza Minnelli. Eliza Minnelli. Yes, hi. I did, in fact, know that your mother was Judy Garland. Yes, I knew that.
Well, that's great, Jeff. Did you know that life, Jeff, is a cabaret old chum?
Oh, absolutely, Liza. I absolutely knew that, Liza. I knew that life is also a box of a box of cats. Life is a box of cats, Liza. And also, the thing is, I'm an actor, which is rather different to being an actor. Eliza Minnelli.
Thanks, Jeff. Love you, darling. Jazz hands for Liza. Jazz hands for Liza. Oh yeah. Skadda-beep-beep-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Oh, there's Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia. 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 Hey, Cynthia. How does it feel being an evil witch?
Ask me that again, Mike, and I'll knock you out. Alright?
Oh, sorry, Cynthia. Are you about the AI stuff?
I'm over it. And I'm over this interview. I'm leaving.
But Cynthia, is it green?
No, Mike. I washed it. Look at my foot, it's a tapping away. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. Oh my god, that's President Trump over there, Donald, darling, what are you doing here, Mr. President? Da-da-da-da-da.
Well, Liza, it's the best movie ever made, an American-made movie, and it's the greatest movie of all time. Other movies, total disaster, believe me. This one is it's the best. Everyone agrees.
But Donald, you can't. You haven't even seen the movie yet.
Liza, that is fake news.
Oh, sorry, the Duchess of Sussex has just decided to rush over.
I saw a microphone, so I thought I'd come over.
Are you excited for the movie?
Yeah, I am. I've seen the Broadway musical. I had the best seats in the house. I actually got asked to play the Good Witch, but I turned it down. Because my duties, as the most beautiful woman in the world, take up all of my precious and expensive time.
Oh, there's John Travolta. John Travolta.
Mike, I'm still talking.
Oh, thanks, Megan. John, come over here.
How dare you? Don't you know I'm a duchess? I'm a princess.
Thanks for joining us, John Travolta.
I'm-
Who's your date tonight? You know this beautiful woman, Adele Dazeem.
My name's Adina.
Back to you in the studio.
How lovely to see John and Adele back together again. That's all for tonight, viewers. Thanks for watching. Definitely some interesting attendees there for the film premiere. But speaking of the film, this is obviously an adaptation of a book. And it's always an argument, is the book better than the film? Is the film better than the book? I've not read the book, so let's ask Liam.
The musical and the book are very different beasts because the book is very, very quite political. It talks about it's like the rise of extremism within Oz. There are different factions at war with each other. There's a lot of things about the different religions and beliefs of the land. And there's a lot of strange stuff as well because her Elphaba parents were both having a secret relationship with another man, and it was just it's a lot of stuff. It's a very different beast, and it takes the themes. If you've ever looked at any of the original Oz novels, it takes a lot of the themes of the Oz novels and it just puts them in a whole other spin. It's just very dark and strange. And there's extended chapters of Elphaba as a child. There's puppet shows going on in the town centre being used as a way of exposing villagers' adultery. It's very dark and twisted, and there's a war against animals versus humans, and it's a lot. And the musical basically just strips it
When
right down to the relationship of Glinda and Elphaba.
when was the book released? Do you know?
Oh, mid-90s, I think. I don't know the exact year. I think it was the
Mid
mid-90s.
90s. Okay.
Yeah.
And because the original Oz books, they were like 100 years ago, right? Something like that.
I think it was 1900. It might have been. Except for the first one.
So I'm guessing Wicked is written by somebody completely different. Is that right?
Yes, it is. An author's own take on the story, taking the themes and trying to. Well, it's become a bit of a cliche in recent years because we've had films like Maleficent and the like. But at the time, it was quite fresh to do like a deconstruction and a darker take on a story. The novel of Wizard of Oz, yeah, that was definitely 1900, and the Wizard of Oz musical was 1939. And then I think The Rising Times of the Wicked Witch of the West or something is mid-90s, and then early 2000s for stage musical. So it's there's gaps between each thing, and they all take on a life of their own. So it's interesting.
Yeah, the thing is, that's the issue at the moment. When the mid-90s sort of period of time, culture was entirely different. Everyone was a lot more sort of into the cliched sorts of things. They weren't really done with it. There was some shades of it with the Disney princesses, look at that 90s princess versus the sort of 50s princess, and like you could see what was happening in that point. But when Wicked came out, as you said, it was sort of new. It was, a bit of a revolution in a certain sense of getting this like iconic, story and just subverting it. But the thing is, at the moment, we're sort of in a very nihilistic period for art. It's to the point where taking apart all these old properties has now become the cliche. You don't really see this like hero's journey story anymore. It's all about making the villain into the anti-hero. And that was kind of all started during that sort of time period. So I
Mhm.
think Wicked now is like old hat, not and yeah,
Old
pardon
pointy
the
hat.
joke about. I was gonna say, don't make any jokes about witches hat. No,
There's actually an interesting quote here from Gregory Maguire, the author, and he said, "If everyone was always calling you a bad name, how much of that would you internalize? How much would you say, 'All right, go ahead, I'll be everything you call me because I have no capacity to change your minds anyway, so why bother? By whose standards should I live?'" He was basically saying, calling a person evil, does that become a self-fulfilling prophecy in itself? And I suppose when he started this, it was released in '95, that was quite a fresh angle, but now it's become the standard angle, so to speak. That's what because every adaptation has layers of irony and a knowing wink in it, because every film that's released these days is done so knowing that the audience are well versed on pop culture. There is no there's no earnest storytelling anymore. Everything has to be a bit tongue in cheek. But at the time, decades ago, Wicked was quite bold.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of entertainment these days is set in the past. You've got Stranger Things, which was set in the 80s, Dairy Girls, for instance, recent comedy that I thought was brilliant, that was set in the 90s. Because it's just a more interesting time, because you can't say anything these days. If you took something that you love, like, I don't know, so let's say Terminator. Most people like Terminator. If it was made now or set now, it would be an entirely different movie. It just really would. And obviously Liam earlier on um mentioned Maleficent. I can't stand that film because it was made for today's audience. To me, Maleficent was such a horrible, horrible character. When I was a kid, she used to freak me out. So when they made a film of her, I was expecting this dark, dark tale, and it could have been brilliant. Instead, they gave her a redemption arc, and she ended up giving true love's kiss to Aurora. Since when does that ever happen? But everything has to be sugar-coated, everything has to be dumbed down, everything has to be changed. Because no one can take reality anymore. No one can take good storytelling. And no one can take art as it's meant to be. And like I said, a lot of programs these days hark back to simpler times because they know they can write stuff in that they can get away with if it's set in that time. And of course, there's a disclaimer. Of course, there's a disclaimer on Netflix of, this might show opinions of the past and blah, 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 because God forbid we expose somebody to something that they don't want to hear and they have to learn themselves. Because I just think that these days people think that audiences are thick. To bring it back to Wicked, like I said, I've not read the book. I mean, it sounds interesting. Maybe I will read it. So I want to see how much it's changed. But I can fully imagine that they've changed a lot. And I imagine that the film is changed from the Broadway adaptation. I do think they'll have done that, and I think they'll have done that for a much wider audience. And we know that there's going to be certain things about it that have been sort of taken out or dumbed down again, made a bit nicer for the audience. We know that because Cynthia was really offended by an AI poster. Can you imagine if she had to say something in the movie that she disagreed with? She'd have probably walked out. And I feel
Yeah,
like it's going to be a similar ilk to Hocus Pocus, where they gave Winnie a redeeming arc, right? I think something will have changed to dumb it down for a wider audience.
yeah, I think that's an issue in media in general. Like you say, it's that not all villain has to be sympathetic. I mean, you can show the path that they went down, but why does it have to be presented in a sympathetic manner? Some people are just like that, and also not knowing is good. It's like prequelitis, I call it, where you know they're going to explain. They're not just going to tell the story; they're going to explain minor details, like in the Han Solo prequel, where they give him a way of giving. They give. It wasn't just enough to have Han Solo from Star Wars, a younger version of him. They had to show how he got his name because he was traveling solo and didn't have a surname. Like nobody needs to know that. It's a whole other level of information that they just add for the sake of it, and it's just little silly Hollywood things. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because, like you say, this Wicked adaptation, they've got to please the musical fans. The book fans will be wanting more because what I do find interesting is this part one is about 2 hours 40 minutes, which is around the length of the entire stage musical. So obviously the pacing is going to be completely different. So if they've brought in stuff from the books, that'll be interesting. But my thinking is it's going to be more likely to be stuff brought in from the world of Oz as we know it, because they want bums on seats.
Well, I mean, absolutely agree with all of that, really. It's just all ever decreasing circles, all incredibly reductive, all, as I said, subversion becomes cliche, is how Hollywood looks in current year. The Maleficent one still upsets me because I thought the casting of Angelina Jolie was exceptional, and in her defense, she played the part very well, as would be expected. But ultimately, that was all very much the start of just how poor this kind of filmmaking is and storytelling is. It's just, ultimately becomes boring, unfortunately. Well, it seems a royal guest couldn't manage to make it tonight.
Oh dear.
Camilla, I've been invited to the opening night of something, yes, wicked.
Oh, is it one of Prince Andrew's parties?
No.
Prince Harry's parties?
No, darling. It's about being a witch.
Oh, so it's one of Fergie's parties?
No, it's a film. A musical, apparently. Something to do with the colour green.
Oh, I see. Are you going to attend?
I don't think so. It's too cold for one to leave the palace. My fingers would start to look like frozen sausages.
Oh, darling, you are hilarious. Your hands will look like a frozen meal bought at one of those peasant supermarkets. What's it called, darling? The one where the poor people shop.
I believe it's called, Waitrose.
That's it, darling. Waitrose. What a funny name.
Camilla, darling, all this talk about sausages has reminded me of that weekend we spent at Balmoral. Do you remember?
Oh, yes, I do. In fact, even then you gave me a sausage surprise, didn't you, darling?
Yes, darling. And as I recall, you were rather naughty, and you especially enjoyed it when I removed my gloves, and I...
Okay, I think we'll leave that one there.
Thanks for joining us, Liam.
Oh, you're very welcome. I had a great time.
Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Till next time.